Hi guys, I am fresh from the hairdresser, as you can probably tell with my beautiful curly hair. It takes me so long to curl my own hair and blow dry my hair that I just don't do it. So I thought, what a great opportunity to jump on camera and do a video for you. So what I've been thinking about the last couple of days is getting back into the swing of writing blogs. Back with my old business, when I was helping people with their Facebook marketing and their Facebook content, I used to write blogs regularly. I had lots and lots of content inspiration in terms of blog ideas because I was constantly being asked the same sorts of questions and in different ways with different iterations. So what I would do is always respond to those with a blog. Now, of course, my business has changed direction entirely. I'm now moving out of that space of the really practical service of Facebook related content and encompassing the whole scope of what it is that I offer to this world. So what we're looking at here is a little bit of spirituality, a little bit of intuition work, a little bit of fear work, and a little bit of butt-kicking accountability. And it's a culmination of all of that, taking what I've learned from the successful business that I built with my Facebook marketing, bringing all of that across, but also throwing a lot of things out that don't work for me anymore. And I've been really exploring a few things. So I wanted to do a little bit of a video to talk you through one of the key things that's happened for me this year, 2019, in my journey of basically burning down my old business model, which was successful and it was earning me a beautiful income, more than I had ever earned in a day job, in a salary position. And starting afresh, basically starting what is like a spirituality apprenticeship. And what happened for me is that the first half of 2019 was interesting. So I graduated from the Institute for Intuitive Intelligence's third level program as a qualified certified intuitive guide. I've got my certificate right here. So this sits in a pride position next to where I sit here and do all my videos and all of my client work. And I graduated at the beginning of 2019. So the program is 12 months. I started at the beginning of 2018. So all the way through 2018 was that journey. Then when I graduated in 2019, I started to explore what it was that I wanted to do. No, that's not really true. I was actually exploring that prior to graduating, but it wasn't until I had graduated that I could formally offer intuitive guide work and bring these services into my business. So what kind of happened was it ramped up in January once I had graduated, and the excitement was palpable. But what I did is I had some nudges and some guidance to close down, my really successful Facebook marketing membership program, which really brought a beautiful, regular, sustainable income into my business, which was really amazing. And that process of closing that down was an interesting experience. I got a lot out of doing that. I learned a lot about myself, and it was really, really, really fascinating. So that happened in the first half of 2019. And so what happened is I started closing things down. I started stopping offering certain services, certain things that were Facebook content specific. And what happened was I started to explore what I wanted to do instead. And I have had a few iterations in this year. So as I sit here and record this, it's September 2019. And I have had a whirlwind of different ideas and different things and trying to work out what I want to do and what I want to offer. So I spent a lot of time exploring and focusing on working with fear. So if you're familiar with my Fearless and Free workshops, I've done a few in Brisbane, I've done one in Melbourne. And I love that workshop. It's really, really potent and really powerful. And it was birthed from a conversation that I had with my beautiful mentor, Ricky Jane Adams. And she asked me what I enjoyed most out of the third level program. And for me, it was the work with the fear and talking about the fear. And anyone who knows anything about the work of the Institute, fear, meeting and releasing our subconscious fear, is what returns us back to balance and is the gateway to harnessing our intuitive intelligence and that intuition that is accessible to all of us. It simply takes practice. And so I dove, or went in head deep, head first. I'll get my words right eventually. I dove in head first into fear work and started working with fear. And then out of that was birthed the spiritual business liberator work that I've started doing as well. And that's been a real honor and a real privilege, because I'm able to serve spiritual business women who have got their businesses. They're sort of somewhat in that just past that startup phase. So they've got a little bit of development, and they've got a bit of traction in their business. And that's currently where I sit right now. What's happened is I've just come out of 4 days of intuitive intelligence teacher training, and now I'm looking at incorporating that intuitive intelligence program into my business model as well. So there's lots of things happening, and none of them are coincidences. Everything is as it's meant to be. And a little something happened for me, so I promise there's a reason why I'm telling you all of this, because it's been a bit of a journey, the 9 months so far of 2019. And what happened was on the 23rd of June 2019, something really significant happened. And I was in our float tank. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we have a sensory deprivation tank in our house. We own it. And yes, if you live in Brisbane or wherever we live at the time of watching this, then yes, you can book yourself in and come and have a float with us, if it's not in storage. More on that maybe another time. And the float tank, I was in the float tank, and if you know anything about them, you'll know what it's like. But if you're not familiar with it, it's like meditation on steroids, basically. So the sensory deprivation element is there is no sound, there is no light, so it's dark, there is no physical sensations. So when you're laying in the float tank, you are weightless, because you are floating on a small body of water that's got 13, I get the numbers mixed up all the time, 13 25 kilo bags of salt in this small body of water. It's only it's only quite shallow. So you're weightless, but you're also floating in water that's around skin temperature as well. It's 30 odd degrees. So the sensory deprivation experience is incredible. It is just you and your mind. There is nothing else to stimulate you, and it can be incredibly relaxing, or it can be incredibly stimulating, depending on what's going on and what experience you choose to have, how experienced you are with floating and meditation and things like that. So on the 23rd of June, what happened is I was laying in the tank, and I had a couple of really shit months. I was feeling really deflated and really defeated, because I had gone from having a beautiful thriving business, and through only choices of my own, it's not like I'm a victim of my circumstances, but I had thrown everything out. I'd burnt everything to the ground, and that's how it had to be done. That's how I chose to do it. It's what happened. I had to make peace with my decision, but I was struggling, and I was struggling financially, and I was struggling to pay my part, my contribution to our household. And Matt, up until that point, had never had to financially support me. We went 50-50 with bills, the mortgage, etc., etc. And then these 2 months leading up to June, things were really, really tough. And he had to come in to support me. And I learned a lot about myself in that, because I felt really, really, I felt less of a person, less of a partner, less of a woman, because I couldn't hold up my end of the bargain. And he thought very little about it, and he was not attached to it, but it really affected my worthiness. And what happened was, on the outside, you couldn't really tell that things weren't so great, because I'm quite naturally a fairly upbeat person. But behind the scenes, everything that I did revolved around money. All of my thoughts, all of my actions, all of my decisions, everything was related around money. And I was focusing on the lack of money. And for 2 months there, I focused on the lack, and all I got was more of that, as the law of correspondence says, as within, so without. So as what was happening within me was frustration and anxiety and that doubt and that lack of self-esteem all around money, that was just being perpetuated outwardly as well. So I wasn't clear with what it was that I was offering to the world, and therefore no one was interested in buying it, because I wasn't even clear. And I've gone from spending a number of years being really clear on what it is I do and how I can help, to being a bit wishy-washy and changing every other week for what felt like a really long time, which really wasn't a long time. My perception of time, because I'm incredibly impatient at times, it's exaggerated a lot. But it was really, really crap. And so what happened is, on the 23rd of June, I was in the float tank, and I had this bolt. It was like a bolt of lightning. And it was just clear as day that something had to change. And it wasn't like I wasn't thinking about how to fix things and how to make things better and how to improve my circumstances and increase my income and bring that abundance to me, but I was doing it from that space of lack. And so in the tank, I'm laying in there, there's nothing but me and my thoughts. And as you know, for those of you who are familiar with meditation and perhaps in receiving intuition, when you go within and you take your focus and your attention inwards and the outside world kind of gets packed away for a little while, the communication becomes a lot easier. You can not only communicate to, but you can also receive in. So if that makes any sense to you, you'll understand that there was a communion happening. Got a sleeve falling off here. And what happened was, this is a constant state. We can live in a state of constant communion and constant intuition, but because my mind was running on overtime, constantly thinking about money, there was no time and space. I was not meditating. I was not sitting in silence, solitude, and stillness, which is like really essential for the inner mystic. And I spent 12 months training and cultivating that inner mystic. So my inner mystic was not getting any airtime. And I was not giving it any time and space for any information to be received. Hopped into the float tank, locked away the world outside, that 3D world for a little while, and it was like the channel opened, the communication opened, and I could receive information. It was crystal clear. And it was very clear that something had to change, something different had to happen, and the steps to follow, what to do, was instant. Like it was instant. And Ricky Jane Addams talks about this, about intuition is instant but not necessarily immediate. So when it happens, it is instant, but if you put a question out there, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be immediately answered. So when you receive it, it is instant but is not necessarily immediate. In this moment, that instant communication was so clear, and I bet you're wondering what it was, right? I won't make you wait. So what happened is it was incredibly simple, yet also equally profound. I had to start doing things differently. And what it was for me is it wasn't, going and doing another course or getting someone who's got a modality to help me. And this is something that I'm leaning into with the intuitive intelligence training that I'm going to be offering. There was nothing outside of me that was required. Yes, I could talk to people and I could seek support, but I was doing that already, and I was talking to people about my money problems and nothing was changing. I had to make the change. I am that answer that I am seeking. And what happened was okay, we need to make small incremental changes. So I've got a money tracking book called 50 Pages of Colour from Tash Corbin. There's a dog sniffing around on the chair deciding whether he wants to jump up with me or not. And Tash Corbin's money tracking book has got, on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of columns, and you track your income daily, right? It's beautiful. So you can set your goal for the month. It's got 31, I think, lines, rows, and you fill it in as you go, as you track your income day by day. And then on the other side is a corresponding colouring in sheet, which what you do is you work out how many... So you say there's 100 different elements on that colouring in, and your goal is X amount. You work out how much each element is worth based on your goal, and then you colour it in accordingly, and it's really, really cool. It was really clear, use that book, but track things differently and don't just track money. So what I did is on the left-hand side, I did start tracking my income because I was focusing on what was coming in rather than what wasn't coming in, and focusing on that gap because I was creating more lack, focusing on that gap, perpetuating that cycle. But what I also did is on the right hand side, rather than using that to track the income, I used the page for something different. And what I did is I sat down and I this all came from the tank, was I wrote down all the things that I want to start doing regularly, and none of them were significantly huge shifts and change. It was really little things. So things on my list on this side of the page included flossing, walking the dog, doing an adrenal cocktail. Go and check out Christine Kershaw's page if you don't know what I'm talking about there. Tracking my cycle, like my monthly menstrual cycle, which is something I was already doing as part of a program I was doing with Amy Tao. Meditation, chanting, prayer, heart congruence, micro method, flossing my teeth. I don't know if I've said that yet or not. getting in the float tank, massage, getting on what's the word? You know those rollers where you can get on and roll out your muscles? I'm sure they have a name. So basically stretching out my back and my legs and my glutes and whatever. So I just called it stretching. Yoga, like getting out my yoga mat. Really, really simple things. So I wrote down a brain dump of a whole bunch of stuff that inspired me. If I did all of these things in a day, I would feel fucking incredible. Yeah. And all I did is I started to track it. That's it. So for each thing that I did, I'd track the income at the end of the day. And for each thing that I did on that list that day, I'd color in an element. And it changed my freaking life. It really did. So what happened was I've got the tracking sheets. I didn't bring them. I should have brought them to show you in this video. And I started tracking my income on the left and tracking those small daily actions that when they add up and you acknowledge the fact that you did them at the end of the day, had a huge impact on me. And my vibe started to change. I started making more income. I started becoming clearer on what it was that I did and how I could help people. It's not that I can't help. It's not that I'm not of value. It's that I wasn't clear about it. And if you're not clear about it, you can't communicate it to people. And that's really, the 101 of marketing. You need to be clear on how you help people so that you can explain to them what it is that you do and they can decide whether it's something that they want. So income. What I also started doing as well is every single day, non-negotiably, I did Ricky Jane Adams's client attraction meditation. I have to make sure I get the words right. Client attraction meditation. Not to attract clients. It wasn't about trying to use as Ricky calls it, God is not your bitch. God being another word that she uses for the infinite, the universe, whatever. It was not about using God as my bitch. It was about knowing that for me to attract what I want, I have to change my feeling state. Your feeling state is like a prayer, and my feeling state for 2 months was shit. It was just shit. I was defeated, I was down in the dumps, I was feeling like crap, and I was just, on a roller coaster, and it was really, really unfulfilling. And of course, I got more things that just were unfulfilling. And so I did the client attraction meditation every night. It's like 6 minutes or something. It's super short, really, really incredible. Or maybe 11 minutes, one of those two. It's around about that, very short. And I'd listen to it. And all I did was I made sure that my intention and my focus for doing that meditation was about me and about elevating my vibration and not expecting anything from it. Yes, it's a client attraction meditation, but it's not to get something. It's not about doing this so that I get this, because that's when we start to get into that messy part of law of attraction. I can of my own self do nothing. I just want to be of service. And so to be of service, I need to be able to give from a full cup. And my cup was empty and I was feeling really, really crappy about that. So for a period of, I can't remember, it was a couple of months. It's September now, and there was a good solid couple of months where I did that meditation every damn day, with the exception of, I think I missed a couple of days. And that was a non-negotiable practice for me. Am I doing it every day now? No, I'm not doing it every day now, but I'm doing other practices and other things. So what I find for me is that I have learned that I need to mix up my practices and my devotion. So I'm not someone, so Matt, my darling fiance, can eat a structured meal plan where he eats the same thing day in, day out for, the same breakfasts, for example, or, the same things for lunch. And I can't think of anything worse. I want variety. I want lots of different things. But what I've learned about myself in this process is that if I can diversify what it is that I'm doing, I am more able to be consistent. And if you're going to run a successful business, consistency is important. You have to be able to keep showing up. And so I found what works for me. So I've got is a selection of things, and I can pick and choose. And so at the end of the day, if I've done some chanting, or if I've done some prayer, or I've done some meditation, or whatever it is that I've done, I tick that off and I feel like it's still a success. I was beating myself up because I didn't meditate for an hour every day, and that just wasn't working either. So I brought this activity in, and I still do it to this day. It's now September. That was June, so July, August, it's mid-September now, so we're coming up to 3 months, and I still do it. because I have a variety of things on there that if I just color in a couple of things, it feels like it's been a successful day, and that just keeps me going. That keeps my momentum happening. So that float tank experience was crystal clear. And what I want to say to you is this is really important, and this is really, really key here. When we are constantly hanging out up here in our cranial brain and all of our focuses are on the 3D world around us, we sever the communication that we can have with the infinite, with the one mind, God consciousness, call it whatever you want to call it. It's so important. And this is why meditation, or a practice that suits you, is so important. And yeah, I can't stress that enough. And if you're having a bad day, when was the last time that you sat down in stillness and in silence and by yourself? Because those things are really, really key to help keep that communication line open. You are constantly receiving information. Whether you realize it or not is entirely up to you. And the next stage is from that, once you realize that you are receiving the information, what you then choose to do with it is the next step in that, because that's really, really key. Spiritual self-esteem means receiving that inner wisdom, that inner guidance, that, that intuition, those intuitive hits, those knowings, and then acting upon them, because sometimes they mean that you're not going to be the most liked person in the room, or you're going to say or do something that perhaps someone's not going to like or agree with or approve of. But this is the thing, right, is when we have these nudges and this guidance to do these things, and we act out of faith, not knowing why necessarily we're being guided to do this, that is what builds our spiritual self-esteem. So for me, to come full circle, my spiritual self-esteem fell off the wagon for a couple of months. I disappeared into that depth of, it felt like despair. And it was something that I really now appreciate, and I can see that experience has brought me a deeper level of understanding for my clients and the people that I work with, because I now understand. I never knew what it was like. I'll fix my shoulder up there. Hang on. There we go. I never knew what it was like to feel that spirituality poverty that a lot of people are familiar with. You don't have to be poor if you are spiritual. But now I understand what that feels like, because I spent a couple of months down there and it felt like shit. And whilst financially I was supported by my fiance, that didn't change how I felt about it. I had to do something about it. And now when I bring money to the table, bring money to the household, bring money to our living environment, I feel a sense of success and encouragement, and that inspires me to keep going. So I can bring a different level of understanding to my clients now. And I am really, really grateful for that experience. But the key message in all of this is that I did not have to look outside of myself. There was no oracle cards involved. There was no crystals involved. There was no, external people healing me or using their modality to help me. It was me. I am the oracle. You are the oracle. You are that which you seek. And I have everything that I need, just as you have everything that you require to continue to evolve in this life, because you are a divine piece of unlimited consciousness. We all are. There is nothing outside of us that we need. And that's really, really, really key. So in the weeks and the months to come, there will be a program launched from me, an intuitive intelligence program. It's coming. Watch this space. I'm going to start with online, and then we'll do some in-person workshops, and we'll do a retreat over in Bali. But I wanted to share this story with you today because it really solidifies the key underpinning point, I suppose, that is part of the intuitive intelligence program, which is you are that which you seek. And the conversation that we've been having about intuition is wrong, and it's got nothing to do with it. I do not wear these. I do not wear crystals because of any special powers. I wear them because I love them, because I think that they're beautiful, and I think that they're pretty, and I love them from an aesthetic perspective. There is no power in this crystal. There is no power in this crystal. I have the power. What I choose to do with this crystal is entirely aesthetic. It is a pretty enjoyable thing that brings me joy, because I know that my beautiful friend, this is a mama goddess Marla from communing, I know that she has personally designed the actual Marla, yeah? And she said, yes, this is the kind of pendant that we want, and these are the kind of crystals, and we want a high quality sandalwood, and the beautiful Fatima's hand at the, I don't know if you can see that very well. There we go. That's a bit better. At the back of the neck there, and all of these beautiful things. I love it for nothing to do with any kind of superstitions. The crystal does not have the power. They are beautiful. They are a gift from Mother Gaia, but there is no power in the crystal. The power is within you, and you can change your life. I went from feeling like shit, making next to no money, and I'm back up earning what it was that I was earning with my Facebook marketing business. And that is how powerful each of us are. If you have any questions about my training coming up, please do get in touch. Please do let me know if you are curious, if you're interested. I will be obviously talking about it in the weeks to come as I start to build it, collecting interest, getting everything started behind the scenes. So watch this space. Thank you so much for watching. We're coming up to 26 minutes now, so I very much appreciate your time. Have a beautiful day, night, evening, weekend, whatever it is for you when you are watching this. It's my privilege to have you listening to me. Thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye for now.